Hello, all, and welcome to Mr. Flamingo Talks, where today I will be discussing just Nintendo. Whatever happens, happens, but it is Nintendo time, everybody.
Sega does what Nintendo does.
Whoa. And then Sega got bought by Nintendo.
And all they do is put out Olympic Games every 4 years.
Yeah. Dang. You know what? That could be
When did that
what we
happen?
talk about. Freaking
When
Nintendo's.
did Nintendo buy Sega? Wait, what?
Yeah.
When
Sega.
has Sega put out any of their own stuff these days? Like, not games wise, but I mean like
Oh, their own console.
where's the Sega Genesis 2 if you're thinking like that?
Maybe it wasn't bought by Nintendo. Maybe they were just drawn out of the console picture. And now all they do is make games for Nintendo and other
Like
consoles
Atari.
as well. Yeah.
Atari used to make consoles. Now they don't. What? Do they even make games anymore?
I don't think they make games, but they do make those plug and play Atari systems
Yeah, that's right.
that are just a bunch of old Atari games.
Sega's still standing on their own. I think it's true though. I think they just make their games for other consoles instead.
We could,
They got the Sonic the Hedgehog 3 movie finally finished filming,
with Shadow.
which they filmed a bunch of that during the SAG-AFTRA strikes, so I don't support it. But I do support it. I'm going to watch it anyway. They're going to get my money.
You know, I was thinking about that. You know, the actor strike and all that.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of get their standpoint of they're not being paid enough, but I genuinely feel that, you know, with the streaming services and all these apps coming out and basically anything can become popular nowadays, you know, it's Hollywood just isn't what it used to be. Actors are not going to get paid as they used to because, you know, anything can become famous and get paid a lot. And yeah, with the oversaturation with streaming services and anybody could just put their money into it, you know, it just, I guess, stretches the income instead of bringing in more. You know what I mean?
I would understand more where you're coming from, but we're already at a point where the streaming market itself is so saturated that they're folding in on each other. Tons of different streaming services are combining into one. Like we had like Max and Discovery, or HBO Max and Discovery had their own streaming platforms, but then neither of them were doing that good, so they combined together into one after they merged companies. So I mean, I get what you're trying to say, but where the writers' strike and everything came from is the fact that there was very little protection against this sort of stuff. Because while big business is fighting for more money, either way they have a lot of money, and people like the writers were getting nickels compared to that money. So they wanted at least a little more like assurances.
And as well with the rise of large language models, writers are feeling pressure for their jobs. I think not just writers, but like people who work in that industry as well. I think Marvel used
Like AI generated art for the openings for its streaming show Secret Wars.
when that could have been
Secret Wars? No. The
Secret
whatever
Invasion.
Secret Invasion.
when it could have been
It's just been man-made.
when it could have been made by an actual artist or an
And
actual
somebody could have gotten paid for doing that, but that's not the case, and that's why they sought up for a bunch of protection.
or like for the actors. Some of these shows they were filmed before like The Office. Some of the actors aren't getting paid for. They used to get paid if they did reruns on the shows on TV, but they don't get paid for.
They don't get
if it's
paid as
streamed.
much, or sometimes not at all. Aaron Paul from Breaking Bad said he got either little or he got no residuals from the amount of times Breaking Bad has been played on Netflix.
Oh.
So all the
actually,
strikes
yeah.
were for not necessarily for the fact that they thought they deserved like, oh, we want even more money. No, they wanted more livable money and assurances and AI protection. But if you look deeper into the contract that was presented and signed off on, they barely got that. There's so much workaround for the whole AI thing, but that's a different problem.
That makes sense, though. Yeah, especially not being paid for, like, streams. I thought actors were paid per stream or something like that.
They are paid for when you're watching on syndicated television. If you're watching their movie on syndicated television, they get paid residuals. But streaming is very like niche and is both like growing and exploding at the same time.
It was niche, and when it was niche, the protections weren't in place. Now it's not niche anymore. Now it's mainstream.
There's a South Park special that does this the best, I think. The gag is that it's the streaming wars, but it's just I think it's like Kyle makes a bunch of little toy boats to like sail into the water, and everybody wants a boat, but then if everybody has a boat, the boats are just all clogging each other up, and nobody needs anybody else's boat, so it all just falls apart eventually. When they started pumping out more streaming services, you went from having Netflix under its umbrella had, where I'm going to use sitcoms as an example. Netflix had Friends, The Office, Seinfeld, and various other big names under one umbrella. But then when the people, Warner Brothers that owns Friends, wanted to make their own streaming service, they took Friends. Somebody else took The Office. Peacock took The Office, I think. You get split apart, and then it's just oversaturation. Nobody makes any money because you start having to pick and choose what streaming services you want, because now everything's spread out. It's awful.
Did you say Peacock?
And now if you want to like watch every show, you gotta go through all these subscription services. Some of the streaming services have the same shows within the streaming.
Some of the streaming services, none of them have the one thing you want to watch.
If you have the
Exactly.
capability, go pirate it. We support pirating here.
We do.
Yes, Pirate, Tubi, and Pluto. Tubi has some pretty good movies for being free, I will be honest.
Yeah, you know what? That's true.
And Pluto got SpongeBob, the old episodes.
He's making good points.
Or go buy physical media.
Also
Yeah.
do that, because the less we buy physical media, the more they'll think it's okay to phase it out. Disney discontinued recently producing its own physical media, and basically is just paying off Sony to make their physical media. Because they're just cheaping out on everybody.
But what's your gut, like physical, like CD media, or just going online and renting out?
That's not physical media. You don't own that.
You don't own that.
Dang.
For the
physical
longest
media, though.
time, I had in the States, because this still exists right now overseas, but in the States we had the WWE network, and this is the proof that like nobody owns anything. One day I got an email and it was like, we're discontinuing the WWE network. Here's your subscription to Peacock. What's the point? Buy stuff. I mean, this doesn't entirely apply to WWE itself, but like buy stuff, because like I can be sitting there enjoying. One of the biggest victims of this is Max. They think Warner Brothers thinks that they can get away with a lot of stuff these days, and one of their biggest things is they pull off so many shows from their own streaming service, and then they still raise the price.
Yeah.
It's awful. It's waste. Buy stuff. Go buy. You want to watch regular show? Go buy the entire DVD collection. Then you own regular show. Watch whenever the hell you want.
Instead of it being pulled from
Wherever you're watching it. No, because you don't own it. You own access to whatever they want to put on for you. But you don't own it.
Or like PlayStation pulling all, I think it's like all Naruto episodes or something. Like if you bought anime off the PlayStation Store to watch on your PlayStation, they pulled it. You can't
None of it
access
is
anymore.
none of it is real. You're making a very big risk buying digital games, for example. That's another risky move.
When you buy digital media, you don't own it. They are giving you a license to say you can use it, but at any point in time they can pull it.
Dang, I didn't even think of it like that. Yeah, basically you just buy the access to it, but not the actual. Yeah, like you said, the actual physical game or movie. You don't have it. You just have the access to it, which is true because I had the PlayStation subscription. I forgot what it was called, but it was just a subscription where you could play the old school games and just whatever games they give it to you. They give you, and yeah, I forgot what game it was. I think it was the OG God of War, where I had access to it, and then since PlayStation just wanted to pull the plug on it, I just couldn't play it again. And yeah, now that I think about it, it's better to just have the physical copy of it. But then that comes the other issue where if you want to own the physical copy of something, especially if it's old, then that's a whole different adventure, a whole different mission you gotta do.
It'll be tough. So you can either find it somewhere, take that time, or pirate it. You emulate the first God of War. On
Shout
your
out to
PC.
Nintendo, who's the biggest jerks about all of that.
Oh, they shut down an emulator.
So they shut down an
A Wii-
emulator.
A Wii U emulator.
Um,
They went after Dolphin. Dolphin's emulator, the Wii GameCube emulator. They went after a ROM site.
Really?
Yeah, that was years ago.
They bodied the 3DS store recently. They took down their own store. So the 3DS store, you'd have your 3DS, you'd have access to buy from them. And this is another perfect example of you never really have anything. You had the chance to buy from them whatever they had on their 3DS store, whether it was the original Pokemon games or whatever was available on the 3DS store. They shut that down. They didn't move any of the stuff from the 3DS store onto the Nintendo Switch, which is also their own store. They didn't do that. They hate emulators. They don't want you to do that. So they closed the 3DS store. They didn't move anything over to the Switch. And they don't like emulators. So go buy your copy of Pokemon Black for $200.
Or emulated.
Emulated. Ignore Nintendo.
Yeah, Nintendo's just like you said, they're just so greedy with it. They take down all these emulators and all this stuff, and if just so they could remaster it, quote remaster it,
And charge you the same price or more than what they charged you the first time.
exactly. Like they don't even let you. Yeah, that's the other thing. I don't like the Nintendo online store where you could play old SNES games and the NES games and Nintendo 64. I think they should have done what they did with the Wii and the DS and the 3DS, where you could, I forgot what it was called, but on their shop where you could just buy the game, by itself, and they'll sell it for cheap. Like Mario 64 was on the Wii for like $5.
True.
Instead of just going through their subscription. I think that's what this downfall of just all this oversaturated streaming services is, just the subscriptions, just subscription instead of just buying the thing individually. Because I was thinking about this recently, where I genuinely cut off a lot of my streaming apps. Because I thought if I wanted to watch a movie, that it was just better just to rent out just the movie or the show that I wanted, like on Amazon, instead of paying for the service. Instead of paying for the streaming service just to watch that one specific show.
Yeah, in the long run, that's true. For people like me, that would just make my job harder, though. Although, to be fair, stuff like My Next Video Rush Hour 3 wasn't available on any streaming service for the month. It might be next month, or might have been last month, but it's just who gets it for the month, which is also very strange. They kind of just, it's like, and I discovered this when I was watching the first Rush Hour, everybody rotates more or less. Sometimes Max will have the rush hour movies. Sometimes it'll be a Peacock. Sometimes it'll be nobody. In this case, for this month, it was nobody.
Or you could try to, or you can get a VPN. Any VPN sponsors, hit us up. You can get a VPN and just, for some reason, The Office isn't in. The Office, not for some reason. The Office isn't in the United States, but it is in Canada. Netflix. So that's what I use. I use Netflix. I use a VPN service to connect to Canada and then watch The Office from there. That's what I did with Starship Troopers. I think I connected to Australia.
You watched
New Zealand.
Starship Troopers?
Yeah.
Did you like it?
I liked it.
That's
It was,
good.
it was really nice. Because I've been on the Helldivers too. Hey, that game is so fun.
Also, shout outs to 123 Movies and Popcorn Movies.
He's leaking all of the good ones. I'm just kidding.
If all that streaming stuff bothers you and you don't want to spend all that or your hard-earned cash on some streaming service, just go pirate it. Just go on those websites where you can watch it for free. Just make sure you don't get any viruses. That's my advice.
Ladies and gentlemen, the moral of today's talks was just pirate or buy physical media. Final thoughts? No? That's it.
Yeah.
Just kidding.